Prince Harry finally regrets what he said.
We're two people who have caused intense damage to the reputation of the royal family and the institution of the monarchy.
If you clicked on this video wondering whether Prince Harry is really trying to get royal privileges back, and why commentators like Tom Bower and Piers Morgan are saying the door may already be closing, then stay with me. Because we're going through every major claim, every controversy, and every number that has people talking. And trust me, the story only gets more dramatic as it unfolds. What starts as a discussion about reconciliation quickly turns into questions about money, public image, family trust, and whether Harry's biggest problem isn't what he said in the past, but the consequences he's facing now. Tom Bower and Piers Morgan have both spent a lot of time discussing Harry and Meghan's situation, and their conclusion is remarkably similar. They argue that what we're seeing today is not a couple focused on rebuilding family relationships. Instead, they believe the central issue is survival. Financial survival, public relevance, and maintaining a lifestyle that requires an enormous amount of money every single year. According to the figures being discussed, Harry and Meghan's expenses are staggering. Security alone is believed to cost well over $1 million annually. Then there's the Montecito property, staff salaries, travel arrangements, public relations teams, and all the other costs associated with maintaining a high-profile celebrity lifestyle. When everything is added together, critics estimate that millions of dollars must be generated every year simply to sustain the operation. That is where the conversation becomes uncomfortable. For years, Harry and Meghan were able to attract enormous commercial deals. Streaming platforms, podcasts, publishing agreements. There was tremendous interest in hearing their story. But critics like Bower argue that much of that interest depended on one thing: access to royal drama. Once those stories were told, once the interviews were given, once the memoir was published, the question became obvious. What comes next? Piers Morgan has repeatedly argued that audiences were drawn to the controversy surrounding the royal family. The moment that source of content began drying up, public interest started cooling as well. In that view, the challenge facing Harry and Meghan today is finding a sustainable business model that does not rely on royal conflict. Tom Bower goes even further. He suggests that the couple's earning power has diminished because the public has already heard most of the major allegations and grievances. If there are no new revelations, then the commercial value attached to those stories becomes significantly lower. That brings the discussion back to Harry himself. Critics have pointed out that Harry's professional role outside the royal world remains surprisingly limited. While he has speaking engagements and corporate affiliations, many observers question whether those opportunities are enough to support the lifestyle he and Meghan have built. Bower and Morgan both suggest that Harry envisioned a future where he could enjoy the benefits of celebrity life in America, while still maintaining the prestige and status associated with being a senior royal in Britain. The problem, according to them, is that those two goals were always difficult to reconcile. You cannot fully leave the institution while expecting all of its advantages to remain available. That is the argument they keep returning to. Independence and royal privilege were never meant to operate as a package deal, and yet, many commentators believe Harry would still like exactly that arrangement. The freedom of California, the prestige of royalty, the privacy of private life, the influence of public office. To critics, that combination simply doesn't exist. Meanwhile, another issue continues generating headlines: money. Observers have questioned whether current business ventures can realistically generate enough revenue to offset the enormous expenses associated with the Sussex lifestyle. Even supporters acknowledge that maintaining a large estate, extensive security arrangements, and a global public profile is not cheap. This has led to growing speculation that Harry may be looking at Britain differently than he did several years ago. When the couple first left royal duties, the departure was presented as liberation. The situation becomes even more complicated when online engagement figures are examined. Analysts tracking website traffic, audience behavior, and social media growth have pointed to signs that enthusiasm may not be matching expectations. Some products reportedly sold quickly, while others generated questions about long-term demand. Critics argue that short bursts of attention are not the same thing as building a sustainable brand. That distinction matters. Launching a product is one thing. Maintaining consumer interest month after month is something entirely different. Questions have also emerged regarding resale listings appearing online. Some observers view this as perfectly normal. Others see it as evidence that excitement surrounding certain products may not be as strong as promotional campaigns suggest. Regardless of which interpretation is correct, the debate itself illustrates a larger problem. Every move Meghan makes now receives intense scrutiny. Every statistic becomes a headline. Every sales figure becomes a discussion. And that level of attention creates its own challenges. Another controversy that generated significant backlash involved reports that a gift package was sent to an online personality known for attacking members of the royal family. Critics were quick to point out the contradiction between advocating for online kindness while appearing to reward someone accused of spreading hostility. Whether intentional or not, the optics proved damaging. For many observers, it raised uncomfortable questions about consistency. How can reconciliation be taken seriously if individuals who attack family members appear to receive positive attention? That question became a recurring theme throughout the discussions led by Bauer and Morgan. And speaking of reconciliation, perhaps the most significant issue of all revolves around King Charles. According to reports discussed by several royal commentators, hopes for a private meeting between father and son this summer have faded considerably. The reason repeatedly cited is trust. Trust, once broken, is incredibly difficult to rebuild. Commentators frequently point to a previous meeting between Charles and Harry as an example of the problem. What should have remained a private family moment quickly became part of a wider public conversation. Critics argue that every interaction now carries the risk of eventually becoming media content. From the king's perspective, that creates an impossible situation. He values discretion, and according to commentators, he has little interest in reopening conflicts that have already caused enormous damage. This brings us to Frogmore Cottage, a property that has become symbolic far beyond its physical size. For years, it represented Harry and Meghan's remaining connection to royal life in Britain. When reports emerged regarding changes to the property and its future, many observers interpreted the move as a message, not a temporary message, a permanent one. The symbolism was impossible to ignore. To critics, it suggested that expectations of returning to a working royal role had effectively ended. Harry, however, reportedly remains frustrated by what he views as unequal treatment. Supporters point to other royals who continue benefiting from housing arrangements and privileges that Harry no longer enjoys. Critics respond with a simple argument: those individuals did not give explosive interviews. They did not publish memoirs attacking family members. They did not participate in highly publicized projects exposing private royal matters. Whether fair or unfair, that distinction remains central to the debate. As Bauer and Morgan frequently emphasize, actions have consequences, and in their view, Harry is experiencing those consequences now. The discussion becomes even more emotional when considering time itself. King Charles is undergoing cancer treatment. He is not getting younger. Every missed opportunity for reconciliation becomes more significant because no one knows how much time remains. Even commentators who are highly critical of Harry often acknowledge that this aspect of the story is genuinely sad. At its core, beyond all the headlines and controversies, this remains a family conflict. A father. Two sons. Years of hurt. Years of resentment. Years of misunderstandings, and every passing month makes resolution more difficult. Yet critics remain skeptical whenever reports emerge suggesting Harry regrets past decisions. Why? Because they believe the regret is selective. Tom Bauer and Piers Morgan both argue that Harry does not regret making the accusations themselves. As Tom Bauer and Piers Morgan continue discussing these developments, one conclusion keeps resurfacing: the window for easy reconciliation may have already closed. Trust has been damaged, relationships have been strained, commercial opportunities have become harder to secure, public opinion remains divided, and every attempt to repair one problem seems to create another. Whether Harry ultimately finds a path back toward his family remains unknown. Whether Meghan can reverse declining popularity remains uncertain. Whether their business ventures can provide long-term stability remains an open question. But one thing is clear: The story today looks very different from the one that was being told during the so-called freedom flight years ago. Back then, the future appeared limitless. Today, the conversation revolves around consequences, and according to Tom Bauer and Piers Morgan, those consequences are no longer theoretical. They are happening right now, shaping every decision, every headline, and every attempt at rebuilding what has been lost. That is why the debate continues. Because for all the controversy, all the criticism, and all the public arguments, one question still hangs over everything. Has Harry truly changed his mind about the choices he made? Or has he simply discovered how expensive those choices turned out to be?